Today we're going to talk about making value changes with color pencil. So the technique that you're going to learn is called a value scale. If you've been watching videos of other assignments, we've already done a value scale in watercolor paint. So now we're going to do a value scale using the color pencil. So all you need right now is a sheet of paper and a color pencil and a pencil sharpener. All right, I'm going to start by drawing 3 small circles very lightly. On the page. Now we're going to make a light circle, a medium circle, and a dark circle. All right, in terms of value changes, light, middle, dark. Now, in order to make the lighter circle, I want to use, in essence, less control with my color pencil. So if I want to go darker or have more control, I hold my pencil near the tip. I'm going to back my hand up to about the middle to go a little lighter. It just loosens up the pencil in my hand, and I can make a lighter mark. So I'm just going to start to color in this first circle as light as I can. I want my strokes, my pencil strokes, to go in, for the most part, the same direction. Because I am working on a circle, they may start to curve a little bit, but I'm just going to clean all that up. I can turn my paper if I need to. And I'm just going to work my way around, filling in this circle as lightly as possible. Trying my best to stay in the lines and even out the color across the circle, all the way up to the edge. Okay, when I get to this one, I want to go a little darker, so I'm going to move my hand down a little bit more on my pencil, and I'm going to press a little harder. Remember, I want this to be a middle value. So I'm just pressing harder, still making my marks, my pencil strokes in the same direction for the most part. I do start to curve it as I get a little closer to the edge of my circle. Fill that in, trying to keep the color even across the entire circle. So I don't want there to be darker and lighter areas in the circle. I want it to be as even as I can get it with the color pencil all the way across the circle. So this one, number 2, should be darker than number 1. Then I'm going to go to the third one, and I'm going to go even darker. So I'm pressing harder. I can move my fingers down closer to the tip of the color pencil. And I just want to press harder and go even darker with my color pencil. You'll start to wear down the lead on your pencil a little bit more, so if you need to stop and sharpen your pencil, that's fine. Clean these edges up and work your way all the way across the circle, going darker. Turn the paper as needed. And fill that circle all the way in, all the way around. Take a look at it, see if it's darker in some places, like it's a little darker up here than it is here. So I'm going to try to even that color out across the circle. And there's my value scale. So number 1 should be the lightest, number 2 should be your middle value, should be like a middle color, and number 3 should be your darkest. For our first value scale, we drew 3 separate circles, and we made 1 light, 1 medium, and 1 dark. For our next value scale, we're going to do something similar, although we're going to use a rectangular shape. In that one, we don't want to have a break between the light, medium, and dark. We want to make one smooth, gradual change from light to dark. So I'm going to flip this paper over. This time, rather than a circle, I'm going to draw some, like a rectangle. I'm still kind of just sketching out a rectangle, like a long box. Doesn't have to be very big, doesn't have to be perfect. Just gonna sketch out a long box on the page, and this is going to be the box that we put our value scale in. So we want to create a change from light to dark inside of this box, but not with breaks between the color, but just one smooth change from dark to light. Start as light as I can go down here first. So I'm just gonna take my color pencil. Again, I'm gonna move my hand farther back. I'm gonna turn the paper a little bit because it makes it easier for me to color it in. And on this end, I'm just gonna go as light as I can with the color pencil and just kind of start filling in some color as light as I can. And I'm gonna push it out through about the bulk of this rectangle. As a matter of fact, just go ahead and fill in the whole rectangle in this light value, as light as you can make it. So my hand's really far back on my colored pencil. I'm holding it very loosely, and I'm just adding as light of a value as I can. Okay. Next, I'm going to go to the dark end of my value scale, and I'm going to start down here as dark as I can get it. So I'm just going to go start to fill this rectangle in on this end as dark as I can make it. Fill it in all the way up to the edge and just push that dark color out a little farther. So I'm pressing down harder with my pencil. My hands are closer to the tip so I have more control, and I'm just going darker, and I'm going to work my way up through about the middle of the rectangle. And as I work my way towards the middle, I'm just going to kind of loosen up my pressure a little bit, so I'm not pressing so hard on the paper so it doesn't go as dark. I'm just going to work my way up to about there. Alright, so now we've started to create a value change, but it still has some like very hard breaks between light and dark. So down here it's darker, over here it's lighter, but it kind of has a weird break between light and dark here. And even though we decided to go darker down here, it's still not as dark as we can make it. So we're going to start to adjust the values in different areas to make it a smooth transition from light to dark. First thing I want to do down here is to go darker. So I'm going to press even harder, just down at the end, and I'm going to go even darker. So I want this to be as dark as I can make it. I'm not going to take it too far out of that back section, so only about this kind of back section right here. And I'm going to bring that dark up some. All right, so where my dark starts to meet what's now my middle value, I just want to kind of color that in as best I can, a little lighter, to make a smooth change from light to dark. It should look like a slide, like a real nice smooth change from light to dark. So it starts to get a little bit smoother here, but again, as we work our way up to this part, it just gets a little weird here because there's not like a smooth transition from light to dark here. So we're going to work our way back up this way to smooth out that transition from light to dark. So I'm just applying less pressure here. I'm going over what would be the edge between the darkest dark and this sort of middle value. I'm just kind of going over it to smooth that color out. And I'm even going to go a little darker in this section. So So I'm a little darker here. I'm not as dark as I am there, but I'm going a little darker here. All right, so you can start to see sort of the break between this darker value and this middle value. So here, I'm gonna start to just smooth that out by going over it again. I'm using less pressure. As I work my way this way, I'm using less pressure. It's almost like my hand is working its way back on the pencil. Now I'm going to start to go over this part again, but I'm just going to start to get lighter. So I start to get rid of that bad edge by going over it, but I'm just using less pressure as I work my way up. And then as I get closer to this end, I want to start to match this value. I want to start to work as light as this is. So I'm still adding sort of like a second coat of color, but I want it to be as light as the first coat. And then when I look at it, I can try to kind of look at it and find the places where it still seems like I have a really hard break. So it seems like right here, I can still see the break between this value and that value. Also right here, I can still see the break between this value and this value, and a little bit sort of down here between like this darker value and there. So I'm just going to keep working, keep sort of going over it to try to smooth that out as much as I can, so I can have one gradual change from light to dark all the way across the rectangle. Start to make that fade out. And just keep working it until you feel like you have a nice, smooth change all the way across the rectangle from light to dark. Okay, so this is what's called a gradient. It is a gradual change from light to dark. So it's called a gradient. This is a gradient value scale, a gradual change from light to dark or a gradual change from dark to light. This is called a step value scale. So it's almost like you take a jump from light to medium to dark. So it's not a smooth change from light to dark. It's individual spaces, individual colors. Step, so it's like 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. This one is more gradual, so it changes basically from a step to a slide. So on this one, it's just like you slide from one color to the next. And that is a value scale.